He thought he was doing his part to keep others safe. When a Charlotte man tested positive for COVID-19 the morning of his flight, he didn't think twice before deciding to quarantine and reschedule. He thought that was the safest thing.
Yeah, but he says Allegiant Airlines told him he'd need to actually show up at the airport despite his diagnosis to receive credit for the flight. WBTV's Sarah Blake Morgan joins us here in studio. Sarah Blake, this doesn't seem to make much sense at all.
You're right, it doesn't. And that's exactly what Elijah Corbin and his dad, Robert, thought and why they called us. Elijah was sick, positive for COVID and contagious, and yet was originally told by Allegiant Airlines blanket policy that it applied and he'd need to come into the airport in person or lose out on that ticket.
Doesn't make any sense.
Logic.
Fundamentally asking people to go to the airport and putting other people at risk.
That's what Robert Corbin kept coming back to when he says his son was told to come to the airport despite a positive COVID test.
And what they said to him was the only way you can get a credit is if you show up at the airport. And he was diagnosed with COVID.
There's a reason Elijah frequently flies budget carrier Allegiant Airlines out of Concord Regional Airport to Orlando, where he's in grad school.
I have been diagnosed with terminal cancer, and so our window is pretty small for being able to see one another, so we fly him back and forth as much as possible.
Robert is immunocompromised, so his son instantly quarantined after testing positive for COVID on June 24th, the morning he was supposed to fly back to Orlando.
And started calling Friday, June 24th, that Saturday, that Sunday, PM'd Allegiant, sent them an email, and just never essentially got a response.
Eventually, Robert says they were told a flight credit could have only been issued if Elijah had showed up the day of his flight.
Why would I encourage my son to go to a public place and to infect others with COVID?
They've been trying and failing to get a response from Allegiant about their policy, but the airline replied to me just hours after I reached out Monday, issuing a full refund and insisting they work with customers to reschedule when they can't fly due to illness.
It's less about the refund with Allegiant than it is that they are encouraging people to unilaterally show up at the airport without any context whatsoever.
For Robert, this was simply about doing the right thing.
We have an obligation to other human beings not to expose them to COVID.
So again, they got a refund. They're happy with that. Now, Elijah quarantined for a week and will be flying back to Orlando tomorrow on a ticket they booked separately. I reached out to some other major carriers to hear their policies. United is the only one who replied, saying a flight issue will be issued if you cancel before the flight departs, but only then.
But again, you helped solve this one for this family, but it did bring to light that there's issues here with the policies.
It shouldn't have to take an email from us, but we're glad we could get it resolved.
Common sense prevailed in the end. Just took a while to get there.
Just took a little while.
Yeah. Great job, Sarah Blake. Thank you.